Good morning. This is Tom, aka Jetio, here for Tabletop Tap Room. And unfortunately, we have to report on NuTSR is going away. And everybody went, hooray! Actually, it may not be what we think. So let's get into this. And we kind of need to cover a lot of different bases. So bear with me a little bit. We're going to start with a communication I got from Eric Tenkar. Now, Eric Tenkar is a mentor to me for YouTube. I've picked his brains, asked him a lot of questions, and he has very graciously done the mentor thing and given me advice and pointers and this, that, and the other thing. And so we discuss YouTube stuff. And I got a communication from him, and I've done a cut and paste of it here. That I've created this Google Doc. It's just a cut and paste of the communication. He sent me basically a cut and paste of the email that he got from YouTube. And there was a privacy violation, that was, this is a standard boilerplate. I've had one of these from over a Dave Johnson video, and the video stayed up. Too bad, Dave. So standard boilerplate from the YouTube legal team, list of videos that were flagged for the privacy violation. And I thought, geez, what is this? So I start clicking on the videos and auditing them, and Justin's not even named in these. And some of these videos that have this privacy complaint against, because you can make a privacy complaint. It doesn't have to be valid. So some of these videos don't even mention an individual. They just mention a company. Companies do not have privacy, Justin, you dumb schmuck. So, we're scratching our head going, this doesn't make any sense. How is this a privacy complaint against this video? Now, these videos date all the way back to 2020. And the one silver thread going through all of the videos is Deinhardt, Giantlands, and Wonderfilled. And in connection to NuTSR usually, because back at that time, there was this controversy that all of a sudden, TSR is back. We're reforming. We're Dungeon Hobby Shop. We're getting the band back together. TSR's back. We're bringing back the old. We're resurrecting. It was dumb, but at any rate, right in that beginning, all of a sudden there were social media tweets on Twitter and posts on Facebook that were homophobic, anti-trans, racist. And it created a big hullabaloo. It was a big brouhaha. And NuTSR was coming out with, it wasn't us. It wasn't us. It was this guy who had control of our social media. And he locked us out. And we're trying to get it back. But blah, 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 blah. So they threw Deinhardt under the bus. He formed his own company called Wonderfilled and split from NuTSR. That's all the way back in 2020. The interesting thing was, but they blamed Deinhardt for all the transphobic, racist, homophobic stuff. Since that time, we really haven't seen much in the way of transphobic, homophobic, racist stuff coming out of Deinhardt and Wonderfilled. We really haven't. What we've seen coming out of NuTSR, out of Justin Linassa, is racist, homophobic, transphobic stuff. Just and disgusting. I mean, just a level of disgusting hate coming out of him. So it begs the question all the way back when they were like, it wasn't us doing it, it was that guy. It was probably Justin. We could just draw a line through. More likely than not, it was some official there, Justin or somebody there. I mean, it was only 3 officers in TSR when they formed, and that was Duck Leeson and Ernie Gygax and Jr. and Justin Linassa. Yeah, so there was only 3 officers, and until the lawsuit, and then they changed the narrative that the only officer is Justin and everybody else is a volunteer. They changed the story then. So it had to have been an official officer, and more likely than not, it was the CEO. It was Justin, because of his behavior since then. So what we could judge from this was that Justin was trying to obscure his connection to Deinhardt and Wonderfield. He was trying to take down videos that linked him to Deinhardt and Wonderfield and Giantlands. So that was a head scratcher. We didn't know what to make of that. Then this popped up. This is a Wonderfield post promoting a billboard that was paid for by Justin Linassa. This is a billboard on your way into Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And it says, Lake Geneva, home of Dungeons and Dragons, Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum, 723 William Street, Lake Geneva. Please see the Lake Geneva Museum Gygax exhibit. So, a couple of things with this. Number one, it seems to be, it makes it seem like this Gygax exhibit is at the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum, and it's not. The Lake Geneva Museum is totally another museum. They put the name is small here, and it's like they're trying to borrow the work of somebody else. It's like they're trying to ride the coattails, which is what they did with TSR Con when they scheduled TSR Con for the same weekend as Gary Con, hoping people would leave Gary Con and come by TSR Con. Ride the coattails. Let's ride on somebody else's work that they've done, because we're too lazy to actually do anything. So it's a little bit confusing in that it makes it seem like Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum is the Lake Geneva Museum, and just the way this is set up. But also what's interesting here is that it's Deinhardt, it's Wonderfield that is promoting this. Not even Justin himself has posted this. It's Deinhardt that has done it. How did Deinhardt get the picture? He probably got it from Justin. So why is Justin not? And at the same time, Justin is trying to obscure any early connection to Deinhardt and Wonderfield. So it's kind of looking like the band is getting back together. All is forgiven. I guess Justin has forgiven Deinhardt of all those racist, homophobic tweets he accused him of doing. Right? Why not? Justin does pretty much the same. So it's the band is back together. Mick Art is the publisher for TSR now, except new development turns up after that, and it's David Floor reported on this. Thank you, David, for digging it up. Props to you. All of the URLs for Justin's social media are being changed. Notice this top one here is Dungeon Hobby Shop. No longer Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum. It's now going to be Dungeon Hobby Shop. Interesting. Why? Well, maybe because Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum is named in the WotC lawsuit. And more than likely, one of the requirements of the WotC lawsuit is that they dissolve those entities that were bojacking the trademarks that belong to WotC. So this looks like it's in preparation for that. You have this, and TSR Hobbies is being changed to OSR Rules, Old School Rules Games, and TSR Con, which was always a funny to me because it's more of a con than a convention. TSR Con is being changed to OSR Convention. Now, as a short aside, anybody on Facebook, if you've got OSR in your name, you can expect harassment from Justin in the future. I own that. You can't use OSR. Yeah. Go pound sand, Justin. And This is something he's done. When he formed TSR, he went to all the TSR groups on Facebook and harassed them and threatened legal action. You're going to get sued, SUDE, and all of that. And, he was just a troll and just a pain in the butt. And so he got banned at some of these TSR Facebook groups because these are fans of TSR Inc., not TSR LLC, which is what he formed. So, and these groups have the predate whatever Justin was doing. But you can expect, if you've got OSR in your name, you can expect harassment from Justin in the future. I believe, mark my words, I'm making a prediction, not the only prediction I will make in this video. But that's just an aside. So all of the things are changing. Well, then there was all of a sudden a new logo. The old logo, which was a trademark squat, which is what's being contested in court right now. They've changed it. It's based off the old logo. So it's okay. It's based off of, but it's OSR, the Game Giants, OSR, old school rules. And presumably, I guess that's a giant's face there in that circle. So now I have somebody who does Photoshop, who Photoshop stuff and sends it to me. And he said, you know what? I fixed their logo. He sent me this. God bless you. Because this made me laugh. But notice this the Game Giants. They're changing it to the Game Giants. And I'm wondering if that isn't part of the fact that Giant Lands apparently is coming back into the fold. That Wonderfield is, or it's an attempt. It's part of the attempt to woo Wonderfield and Giant Lands back into the fold. Now, as I was researching this, I did see some comments online and some speculation asking, oh, maybe this is him getting ready to try to negotiate with WotC to try to settle. I don't think so. You don't do what the other side wants, i.e. stop squatting on the trademarks and then trying to negotiate. I really think it's not that. I really think this is kind of what we would call a bar room or redneck legal advice. That he's formed this other LLC, this OSR Games, and he's attempting to move everything into it. It's very much a Crazy Eddie. If you remember Crazy Eddie.
Sale ever. Crazy Eddie. His prices are insane.
Yeah, that guy right there. I believe what's going on is a Crazy Eddie. Now, Crazy Eddie was this this guy in New York City in the 70s and the 80s, and he ran electronic shops. He had like about, I don't know, 8 or he had a bunch. I think it was around 8. I'd have to go look it back up again. Electronic shops all over the New York City area. He sold TVs, stereos, electronics. And what would happen is in the middle of the night, they would load a van with all of the stock in a store and in the warehouse. And then they'd fill the warehouse with empty boxes. And then they would have a fire that would set off the sprinklers. And so the sprinklers would go off and it would soak all the cardboard boxes. And he would have an insurance claim. He would claim he lost all of this stock. No, all the stock was put in a van and sent to another store in the middle of the night. So he would get a claim and get all the stock paid for through insurance, through an insurance claim. And then that allowed him to then sell it at cheaper prices. And this, he did this several times. And and eventually it catches up to you. And he had to flee the States. He went to Israel, and there were warrants to pursue him to Israel. And the Israeli police are like, we're not going to work that hard to catch this guy. So they had a female officer park her car on his regular known travel route with the hood up, and then being there acting all damsel in distress, like I don't know what's going on. And so he of course stopped his car. Hey baby. And she went, hey baby. And they put him on a plane and sent him back to the States to face the music. That was Crazy Eddie. I believe what is going on here is they're shortening the name of Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum to just Dungeon Hobby Shop as an entity, so that, okay, fine, Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum can go away. Dungeon Hobby Shop is still here. TSR Hobbies can go away. OSR Games LLC. Totally different and not connected. And they're going to roll all of the stock. The RPG collection that he bought for $10,000 from a collector that's at the Dungeon Hobby Shop, that's going to get just rolled over to OSR Games. Anything he's selling in the dungeon, it's all officially going to get rolled over to OSR Games. The problem is that the offices for OSR Games is 723 William Street, which is also the presumed new offices for Dungeon Hobby Shop, which also happens to be the old offices for Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum. It's the same location. So, it makes no sense, but he's trying to pull a Crazy Eddie. And so I really believe this is barroom, redneck, trailer park legal advice. Yeah, do this. What are they? Nothing they can do. You change the name to OSR. It's not going to work that way. But that's what I believe is going on. It's an attempt to ride out the storm because he's going to lose. He's going to lose, and he's going to lose big. The other reason I bring up Crazy Eddie is the fire sales. It was predicted to me months ago that the Dungeon Hobby Shop is going to be burned down. And it was predicted to me that by somebody, they were like, look, he goes, I don't want to see this happen, but I'm afraid this is what's going to happen, and that location is going to disappear. That he will burn it down for the insurance claim, and he will probably move all of the stock out of there, and then it burned down. I lost everything, insurance claim. It'll be a classic Crazy Eddie. So I don't know. This prediction was made to me. I think it might have merit now that I see this whole Crazy Eddie move, because it reminds me of Crazy Eddie. Have a fire, make an insurance claim, and get the cash and move on. So I think that's what we're looking at. It's that there will be news in the future that the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum has burned down. Now, I hope, for Duck's sake, that nothing happens to him. It's because my aunt and uncle went through this. He was managing a car wash. They were newly married. My cousin had just been born, I think, and they were newly married, and so they lived in the apartment above the car wash. He managed the car wash, and the owner was doing things like, he's just shady. The owner was doing shady things, not paying for soap. So Uncle Richard would pay kids $0.25 to be out there with a chamois, and so the cars would come out and they'd wipe the car down because there was no soap. The owner wouldn't pay for soap, so he's paying the kids like $0.25 an hour or $0.25 a day, whatever it was back in the 70s, and they'd wipe the car down. Hide the fact the car had just been wet; it hadn't been washed, and so he was doing that just because he's trying to survive this situation. He's got a family to feed, and they were out. And the gas line was open and the building blew up while they were out. And it's believed, it was hard to prove, but it was believed that the owner burned the building down. And Aunt Jean and Uncle Richard lost everything. Now, luckily, my mother had gotten married 5 years prior. And so Mom, she's notorious for saving everything, had, 5 sets of sheets, 2 sets of dishes, 2 sets of pots and plant, all this stuff is in storage. The extras, we're using one, and when we use it up, we'll take the other one out of storage, right? So mom just went right into storage and got all that stuff and reset up Aunt Gina and Uncle Richard, after that fire. So this is part of, my family history. I'm like, I remember this, even though I was very young, that this went on. And I got a feeling that this person who has predicted the burning of the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum, 723 William Street, for an insurance claim, may be onto something now that we see the Crazy Eddie going on. So as we've looked at this OSR games, we actually discovered that it was incorporated as an LLC way back in 2021 on July 6th. It actually predates the incorporation as an LLC of TSR Hobbies and of Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum by months. Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum LLC and TSR Hobbies were incorporated after Justin initiated his legal lawsuits against WotC. So this is something that this TSR, this OSR Games LLC is something that's been lying fallow. And, it's so there's been a plan in place. And I don't know why he started this, but it does look like this is going to be the new repository for everything that he's doing to try to protect things from the WotC lawsuit. Now, what's really interesting, as I looked at all of these dates involved with these LLCs that he set up, one of the things we have harped on in videos is that he's unmasked his LLC protections. When he bought Dungeon Crawl, he paid for with 4 checks. And they were from all different entities. It was Justin Linassa himself wrote a check. Hardwire Tattoo, he wrote a check from Hardwire Tattoo. He wrote a check from the vape kava shop that's closed. He wrote a check from Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum. So there's all these different entities. And I do believe, and I've sent out a quick message to Dawn to double check, but I do believe that the date of purchase was back in early 2021, around August or September, maybe as late as October. But that still predates November and December when the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum and TSR Hobbies were set up. So one of the things we've harped on is that he has no LLC protections. Well, actually, some of these entities involved post-date the sale, so it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter if he wrote a check from those entities before they became an LLC, they're not protected. So it's really interesting. It'll be really interesting to find out the exact date and the dates on those checks. And so I have, I've sent out a query to Dawn to try to learn when the purchase of Dungeon Crawl finalized. Now, one final thing. We're calling this video Crazy Justin because his moves are insane. And this is just classic. With all of this reorganization that's going on, he's accidentally listed the Dungeon Hobby Shop sticker for $0. For $0 on their online store. It's so you can own a Dungeon Hobby Shop sticker, and I would have bought one, except I didn't want a box of poop mailed to my actual mailing address here in Maine. I didn't want to provide Justin with that, so I would have bought one, but didn't want to go there. But somebody clued me in and they showed me this, and so yeah, they paid 55 cents in shipping for a free Dungeon Hobby Shop sticker. So you too can own a piece of game scamming history, and get a Dungeon Hobby Shop bumper sticker. And if you happen to be buying one and you don't mind it coming to your address, buy one from me. I'm good for 55 cents. I'll send you a buck. So, yeah, how dumb was this? Crazy Justin listing stock on his store for free. It's a fire sale because his prices are insane. So we're going to close out this video. I just want to say there's an individual out there who does stuff in Photoshop and then just sends it to me. And so special thanks, because I could probably do what that individual does. It would just take me 2 to 3 times as long and not be quite as technically good as what they do. So I really appreciate all of the stuff, namely the corrected OSR Games logo. I love that thing. It's so awesome. Especially in light of all of the racist Nazi stuff in the NuTSR and their support of the game designer Dave Johnson, who had all that horrific Nazi stuff in his Twitter feed, that in your heart Hitler was right, that sort of thing. So I just love that corrected OSR thing. And so you know who you are that made that. It's special thanks. I really appreciate all that you do, and you keep sending me, because I got the biggest laugh out of that. It was absolutely hysterical. So thanks to you. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. I appreciate you. And thanks for watching the video. But no, Justin is probably not trying to negotiate with WotC. He is just trying to do a standard Justin of not take any responsibility and shift everything over to another entity and claim, oh, you you can't get me. They can, and they will. All right. WotC's got too much invested in legal fees. And so you're probably going to have to offer $500,000 to settle, and and a few other concessions. But yeah, they can get you, Justin. And this redneck legal advice that you got is not going to fly. You're still liable. They're going to nail your butt to the wall. So this is Tom for Tabletop Taproom signing out, and keep on gaming.